life so that, great introduction, Ed. Ed ran away from home at the age of 14 to the sea. And he's going to tell you all about his career. And all of you know about Ed's leg and all the challenges that he's had throughout his whole life and the way that he resolved those challenges by making a successful career. He worked for Uncle Sam, that's his words, for about 40 years. And 16 years with the Merchant Marine. And over those years, he commandeered over 27 ships. I can't even count the 27. But he commandeered 27 ships.
How many Corvettes you have?
There you go, almost. He's been the Rotarian of the Year here at Cocoa Rotary. Ed, how long have you been in Rotary here? 17 years. He's a Paul Harris Fellow. He's been active in the community, and everybody knows Captain Ed.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up any more of his time, but Captain Ed, come on up. We are thrilled to have you speak today, and just so glad that at 91 years young, he's able to be here and do what he's done today.
Pat Harrington, honey, you kissing my picture over there. Don't do that.
Lipstick.
Lorena's doing the same thing, my gosh. I'm telling you, but you girls, you know, and then Brenda, she kneels every time she gets I just, you know, I get that. But anyway, some of you have heard me up here before. I'm going to do this a little bit different because the way I speak, it's going to take a long time. So what I'm going to do is read what has been written about me. It makes it easier and it makes it quicker because I know you people don't want to be up here for 3 or 4 hours like I usually am. Well, before there was a port, there was Captain Ed Lanni, the first to pilot a ship in the Canaveral Harbor. Indeed, at age 90, he has few decades in Port Canaveral, all of which seasoned his salty spirit along a course fraught with seemingly insurmountable challenges that the sea, somewhat, and a bit of guile ultimately allowed him to overcome. Ed Lanni was bestowed Ambassador Emeritus at January 2015 Canaveral Port Authority Commission meeting, an honor he views as a fitting pinnacle to his fascinating maritime memoirs. During the May board meeting, the commission recognized his birthday with a resolution declaring Captain Ed Lanni Day, so we already had one there. Orphaned at the age of 3 after the murder of his mother and almost immediate death of his father from World War I mustard gas complications, Coco, as he was curiously nicknamed. I was called Coco when I was 3 years old, and it's interesting that my home is now Coco. As he was curiously nicknamed along with his 5 siblings, entered the foster care system in upstate New York near the shore of Lake Ontario. He endured years of orphanages and foster families, developing a tough personality that, although challenged his caregivers, allowed him to surmount exceptionally harsh circumstances and treatment as a child. At age 8, things took a terrible turn as he was admitted to the hospital with a condition in his knee that made it impossible for him to walk. Rather than amputate, and I must say if I had parents, my leg would have been amputated. Rather than amputate, doctors decided to experiment on the orphan by transplanting a donated rib bone into his leg. After years of rehabilitation, beginning with an almost full body cast, the boy emerged from the medical facilities for the last time able to walk but with obvious handicap. One that he overcame time again with wit, will, and a bit of deviance that permitted him to achieve his goal to flourish as a mariner. His nautical course was set at age 14 with the unlikely kindness of a grizzly old seaman who gave him a tour of the ship that Ed admired as he explored the docks. As Ed waited in the crew cabin while the gentleman tended to a few things, he tidied it up, which was duly appreciated by his host. He gave Ed the chance to make a little money, not only from him, but also from the rest of the crew for cleaning their quarters on an ongoing basis. He eventually became a stowaway deck boy aboard that boat, which carried people in cars between Rochester and Canada. After a few months, the jig was up and it was back to foster homes and school, but it was enough for him to appreciate the mariner's life and set his sights on being a captain one day. Of course, his hobbling gait did not make it easy for the now aspiring seafarer. When the event of war in 1942, he tried to enlist, but was deemed physically unfit for duty to his life. He wound up tagging along with a friend applying to a merchant maritime school. After heartfelt pleas, the school doctor agreed to give him a chance to go through training, as long as he took a typing class to ensure that he had a job that he could do sitting down. One evening, while waiting with other students at a staging area in New York City, an officer with the Army Transport Service asked for all who could type. Ed, being the only one to raise his hand and subsequently pass the typing test, was sent to fetch the captain of the SS Cardinal Gibbons from a bar so they could clear the ship. His typing paid off, as his first ship sailed at 4 a.m. the next morning with Ed as a purser. It was great luck that got his career started on a track that offered him great opportunity. He was now part of the Army Transport Service, which later became the Department of Defense-wide military sea transportation under the command of the Navy, and made up of civilian merchant crews known as civilian mariners. He was thrilled when the captain made him a junior deck officer, and so he was surprised when ordered to pack his gear to leave the ship. He later realized the captain was quite fond of him, forced him to move on so he would pursue his third officer's license, which he would not have done while aboard ship. His new goal required him to take a series of tests, all of which he passed with ease, except one, the physical sign-off by an attending physician. The Coast Guard doctor would not sign off. That's not true. Public health doctor, I'm sorry. Public health doctor. Ed was devastated. As a last-ditch effort, an instructor suggested he try attending doctor at a public clinic who would perhaps not be as strict with requirements. And he nervously took the elevator to the doctor's floor, forms in hand, and happened to run into the doctor as the doors opened. He carefully stepped out and he made sure he walked behind the doctor to his office and sat down quickly. After a pleasant conversation and a cursory review of his papers, the doctor signed his approval. That's not complete. The doctor gave me a physical, and when I had to drop my drawers, I kept this leg up so he wouldn't see this, and he didn't notice it. But, where the heck was I?
Good information, Ed.
She was related at the office without notifying everyone. The doctor sat chatting with his hand on a side form as a nurse came in with a question. With the doctor distracted, Ed seemed concerned and added a bit of drama to a commotion he saw down the hall, to which the doctor and the nurse rushed to control. Ed hopped up, grabbed the form, and hobbled quickly to the elevator, disappearing before the doctor could see his light. When the final requirement Ed met the Coast Guard requirements, and the new course he became a ship's officer as a civilian mariner was set. Ed served on dozens of ships in many ports, from which his beginnings as a purser in World War II until he retired in 1986, including more than 3 years as the captain of the Range Sentinel based in Port Canaveral, starting 1983. He retired shortly after, choosing Cocoa as his community and the Port Canaveral as his home port. He has brought his insight and leadership to countless community organizations and, of course, lent his love of the sea, a bit of guile, and commitment to developing his home port through his multiple appointments as port ambassador. That's that one. For this other one, for one of the few times, this is when I was with the Military Sealift Command. For one of the few times in his long career, Captain Lanni, master of USNS Reading Sentinel, could not find the words to express himself. The occasion, Captain Lanni, who has built quite a reputation as an eloquent ambassador for MSLAM. MSLAM means Military Sealift Command, Lanni. Wherever he traveled, received his 40-year length of service award in a small ceremony conducted in the office of Comslang Captain Wiley, USA. The surprise presentation was held one day before Raid Sentinel left Hoboken shipyards at Mopey after having minor repairs for his home base in Port Canaveral, Florida. He first went to sea as a runaway at his age of 14 to work as a cabin boy aboard passing ships. They caught me a couple of times and took me back, but when I was 16, they left me alone. So began the colorful career of Captain Lanni, a career which included many MSTS and MSC firsts, as well as a good number of sea stories. Captain Lanni began his sailing career with the federal government, serving with Army Transport Service as an able seaman. As ATS evolved into Military Sea Transportation Service and finally Military Sealift Command, he sailed as practically every type of ship those services had. I guess I've sailed on more than 25 ships and I've had command of more than that, said Captain Lanni. He acquired his master's license in 1950. He has stepped on every continent, circumnavigated the world several times. MSCS and MSC missions have taken him to the Arctic, Antarctic, Australia, Southwest Asia, South America, Africa. Captain Lanni was the first civilian MSC rep to serve in the resupply missions of the American Air Force bases in Greenland. He was also a part of the Operation Blue Jay that opened the Arctic with the construction of those bases. He was there when MSC transport ships were undertaking all sorts of special missions for the United Nations, carrying displaced persons from all parts of the world. He sailed cargo, ammunition to all parts of the world, and troop transport ships to Korea and Vietnam. While serving aboard USNS Comet in Vietnam, his ship came under enemy fire. Another highlight was the posting of kings aboard ships under his command. They included King Hussein of Jordan and King Saud of Saudi Arabia. The USNS Marine Fiddler and Haile Selassie on USNS Marine Fiddler, that was my ship, and Haile Selassie on Ethiopia aboard the Crane. I was happened to be standing at the gangway talking to my watch officer, and I saw this big, huge black guy walking down the dock, and there's this little guy in a uniform. And I looked at him, and he had this beard, and there's something about him I didn't quite recognize. I knew there was something, so I called the bridge. I said, blow the whistle. I blew the whistle, and the big black guy came running up the gangway. Did you blow that for? And it was Haile Selassie. I didn't realize. I said, have him come up and have a cup of coffee with me. Well, he couldn't come up the gangway, so I took a cup of coffee down to him and had a cup of coffee with Haile Selassie on the dock. Of course, you people that I know, none of you are here old enough to remember Haile Selassie. Well, Frank, yeah, Frank is older than me. Not many people know that I also held shoreside positions with MSC. I've had this opportunity to stay on some of the jobs, but I always went back to sea. He related that he had temporary assignments as a cargo specialist, damage control, instructor, firefighting instructor, special projects representative, and port captain. Perhaps he is best known for getting involved in community projects, and it seems that wherever he docked, his ship is home. He particularly enjoyed helping children, as he has done by delivering food and money to orphanages in Scotland and New Zealand. How I would raise the money on a Navy ship, gambling was not permitted, but my guys would go down in the carpenter shop, which was aft, all the way aft, and at night they'd all get around and they'd be down there playing poker. And I know they would start about 9 o'clock, so I'd wait till about 11, and then I'd go down there, and I'd walk in, and they'd all stand up, of course, and there's all this money in this blanket. So I would just pick up the blanket and walk out of there. That's how I would raise the money to give to these. Sometimes they would move
they moved the game?
part.
They moved the game on you?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Dave's disco, that reminded me. Dave, I knew Dave when he was 8 years old. His father was a commander in the Navy, worked in on my ship in the office, and his mother was also in the office. And when his father got his third strike, Dave was 8 years old, little guy standing there with his glasses on.
Glasses? Glasses and a buzz cut, right?
Yeah.
Things don't change.
So that's to show you how things happen. Okay, and let's see, he has taken a group of Sea Cadets under his wing in Port Canaveral and allows them to use the Range Sentinel as a training ship. On his trip to Bayonne at the end of September, he took 7 of his cadets to gain experience at sea. On a trip back to Florida, he took 18 MSC land shoreside employees to give them a taste of living at sea. I've always offered to do this type of thing as my ship is in port, because I think it's important that the people who are supporting us to have a good idea of some of the things we face when we're at sea. But I'm amazed that so many signed up for this one, and we had quite a time. Shortly after Range Sentinel arrived to Port Canaveral, Captain Carl Freiberg relieved Captain Lanni on as masters. Captain Lanni will spend the next several months on vacation, and I will continue to work, so on and so forth. Much on that.
2 minutes.
Some of the frigates was, of course, I was involved in World War II, Greek Civil War. A lot of people don't know about the Greek Civil War back in 46 to 49. And I carried horses and mules. I took horses out of Germany to Greece and then mules out of New Orleans. We lost one horse, and the mules was very interesting. The mules had to be belly strapped. They couldn't lay down. If they lay down at sea, they would never get up again. So they had to keep them on their feet at all times. And we had these big black mule skinners, about 12 of them that rode with us. And all night long, or any of the dark areas, they would sing. And I wish there was some way that I could have recorded. It was beautiful, listening to those voices singing to keep those mules happy. And the interesting thing is we kept those mules happy, but what happened when we got to Greece? Well, we went to Solo. Solo was the first port, and we're just starting to unload, and the attaché came down and said, "Captain, get out, they're coming down the hill, and we want you out of here." So, Captain, I was a seaman at the time, and Captain blew his horn, and we backed out. We left a few sailors behind. We went to another port, and I was ashore at noontime, and I was sitting at the cafe, and there goes the whistle. So I just threw my money on a table and I run. Well, you could see me running, but I ran. And the ship was starting back out, and they let go of the headline, which is they let go of the headline, and I jumped in the water, grabbed onto the headline, and they heaved me on board. And the captain, to his dying day, tell that story. But anyway, then I was in the Korean War, I was in the Congo War, I was in Vietnam, Desert Storm, and Haiti, so I did all that. There are no flowers on a sailor's grave, for he sleeps beneath the restless wave. For the land 10,000 fathoms deep, his life now over, no watch to keep. He sails his grave as then the family he loves so well. Come winter wind and winter gale, no one survived to tell the tale. That is why there are no flowers on ocean swells, for the sea does not give up its secret, and the sea will never tell.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend and yours, Captain Ed Lanni. We got time for 2 questions. Mike Arnold has one.
Cap, were you ever in sea so bad you thought the boat was going to sink and you were going to die?
Well, yes, sir. I was in the sea. I was logging them at 55 foot. And I was a couple miles away from the Conte Bianco Mano, which was an Italian liner. And they took a sea and hit their bridge, smashed in their bridge, injured the officers up there. And that bridge was 76 feet above the surface of the water.
Wow.
Now, I got all kinds of SOSs, ships turning over, people holler for help, but I could not turn my ship because if I turned anyway, I would turn over.
Yeah.
So I had, not only that, and at the time I was carrying missiles, I couldn't answer anyway because those missiles were secret and I couldn't go anywhere else.
Dr. Jerry Berg.
Captain Ed, Paul was telling me that the picture of you piloting the Santa Maria over with Christopher Columbus was on the back.
Right.
What is it?
We'll help you find it in a minute, Dr. Jerry.
I knew there'd be a smart ass.
Got that right.
Diana.
I have just real quick on a personal note. You started out with reading the article that said you were one of 6 children.
Yeah.
Did you ever reconnect with any of your siblings over the years? Or
Well,
anything?
once in a while, I did live in a foster home with my sister, who was a couple years older than me, and my brother, who was a year younger than me. And the 3 older boys were taken into a family right away. Very fortunate. The family raised them as their own. And they, once in a while, we go visit, and the mother would kind of put her arms around us and sort of, I'm sorry we didn't have enough because they had their own children. And so I was in 9 different foster homes and 2 orphanages. And the reason I was in so many homes, I was hungry. I was a little bastard. I really was.
Don't hold back. Don't hold back.
And I was ugly. I hated life. And in the middle of the night, they came in and picked me up and took me somewhere else. That's how bad it was. And my going to sea saved my life. Otherwise, probably today I'd be in jail.
One more. Lorena.
He really glossed over. I had the privilege of being able to have coffee with this guy for many, many years. And before I got married, I moved 10 minutes south. But this guy glosses over his challenges when he was in the hospital. And will you tell us how long it was from the time they decided to take you and do this life-altering, life-saving procedure, which parents would have never agreed to? They took him and made him a guinea pig. How long were you in the hospital, and how long was your recovery time?
3 years altogether.
3 years.
Wow.
My first cast covered all that leg, half of this leg, and up to here, and I laid like that for months. And then they took that cast off and put the other one just on this leg. It took them a long, long time because it took a long. They took a rib from about that size from a young fella. He was probably 4 years older than me. He did come and visit me, and put it in there. And it really is amazing that, well, that it worked. I'm glad they did it. Otherwise, like I said, if I had parents, my leg would have been amputated.
Thank you, Captain Ed. Thank you so much. That's a lot of history there, folks. A lot of history. I want to thank all the visitors for coming today. I appreciate all of you being here. Kathy and Ed and I are going to take a couple of pictures up here. And any friends that are here with Ed,